Yo, how's it going, everybody? It's MacklinGaming, and I don't get to talk about this enough on my channel, at least yet, but Pokemon is one of my favorite game series of all time. It's definitely heavily based on nostalgia, and I played, Red and Blue when that first came to the West, to America, when I was like 7 or 8 years old. Those were the times to be alive, and my friends and I would be playing the game, and we'd go to school and talk on the playground about, like, did you get this Pokemon yet? Did you know you could get Mew? Like, there's all these little myths and legends that would get spread just by word of mouth, because we were too young to even be on the internet, So it was just a magical time to be into Pokemon, and that really instilled my love for Pokemon all these years later as an adult weirdo playing Pokemon. I got this hoodie, which my camera angle never shows off my shirts and stuff, and the microphone, but got the old Gen 1 gang here. So today is a video about a certain Pokemon game. And the reason I played this game was because, last year Pokemon announced Legends ZA, a new game in the Gen 6 region, right? So I had another video where I played Pokemon X and gave a review about that like a year ago on my channel. And now I'm gonna give a review for Pokemon Alpha Sapphire, which I played here on my 3DS. And yeah, we're gonna talk about this game and see where it ranks among the remakes of the Pokemon series. Is it worth playing now in 2025? I played it at the end of 2024 here. Same difference, I'm just trying to get hyped for Legends ZA, and I'm trying to really get into Mega Evolutions, which is not something, I skipped over XY at the time that it came out. So, for me, Dynamax was my favorite gimmick or mechanic that Pokemon introduced in a game, because I didn't really experience Mega Evolution at the time. So now that I've played both X and Alpha Sapphire, and I've experienced Mega Evolutions, I'm gonna talk about that, and we'll see what I think about Mega Evolution. So let's get into it. So the premise of Gen 3 Ruby Sapphire is about the environment, and I actually really like this storyline that Game Freak went with. So you've got this enemy faction in the game, Team Aqua, and their whole mission is to free the Pokemon from human beings who have destroyed the environment and try and restore the world to a pristine environment so Pokemon can live freely in the world. And it's like, oh man, when you have a villain group that actually has a good point and you almost want to agree with them, it makes for an even better villain, I think. So it was good writing on Game Freak's part to come up with this idea, and also teach people, and mostly kids who got into Ruby and Sapphire at the time, that the environment is important and humans are ruining the planet. And this was 22 years ago, so even today it's even more relevant, I think. So definitely worth playing for the storyline there. So what they want to do is create this deluge of rain, this rainstorm, and summon it, because Kyogre can summon this rainstorm and wash away all the human life. So, there's some bad parts to it, obviously, but they kind of have a good point there. Let's try and restore the environment and bring peace back to Pokemon and have them live freely in the world. So that was really interesting as you're fighting against them, and then towards the end they kind of realize they've made a mistake, and you almost work together with Team Aqua at the end. As far as the gameplay goes, it's your classic Pokemon game where you go from town to town, fighting gym leaders, getting your badges, and ultimately getting to the Elite Four, with some little obstacles and detours along the way, as I've described with the deluge of rain and stuff. And halfway through the game you get Latias, which is a really cool legendary Pokemon, really fast, and you get pretty much given Latias. You don't really have to do much, and it's kind of nice to have that. Halfway through the game you get a pretty powerful Pokemon, and towards the end you get Kyogre, but you still get Kyogre before the Elite Four. So I really like how they're giving you legendaries to put into your team before the Elite Four, instead of making all the legendaries post-game, which, to be honest, a lot of the good ones are still post-game in this game. There's, the Reggies, which are pretty obscure to track down. And I believe Rayquaza is also in this game in the end game only, though. So you can't, like Emerald, you can't get Rayquaza before the Elite Four and just steamroll. But overall, the Pokemon in Gen 3, I like them. You know, it's not my favorite generation for Pokemon. I pick Swampert as my starter, so you get that water and ground dual typing, and he's pretty strong. And then, you know, I really like Aggron, so I found a little Aeron, and I got... One weird thing was I tried to get Ludicolo, but I got a Lotad and I evolved him to Lombre, and forever I had Lombre, and then I realized you need a Water Stone, and in this game, you can't purchase Water Stones at any store, not even the department store. You know, like Celadon City, where you can buy the Water Stone, Fire Stones, whatever. In Gen 1, you can't do that in this game. You have to like win it in some obscure way, and I was like really annoyed by that. So I had to bench my Lombre and go with another Pokemon there. But overall, my starter 6 was pretty badass. And, you know, this game also introduces Mega Evolution into Gen 3, which was not there to begin with. So that's pretty interesting. This was my chance to really get into Mega Evolutions, my last chance. You know, I played Pokemon X and I used Mega Evolutions, and I'm pretty sure it was the Pokemon that I chose to be in my party in that game that just weren't that cool. Mega Evolution, right? Like I had Venusaur, and his flower just like grows a little bit taller on his back. And I had Lucario, and Lucario just kind of gets like a little bit bigger bandana or whatever, like more hair. He looks like pretty cool, but not that much of an improvement, right? Obviously they're stronger Pokemon, but I didn't think it was like the coolest looking, you know, Pokemon to have for Mega Evolutions. But in Alpha Sapphire, I had Aggron and Swampert, and say no more. Like when I Mega Evolved each of them, they looked freaking awesome. Super badass. Swampert gets like huge, jacked arms, you know? He looks like a beast. And Aggron looks like some sort of like dinosaur, like Digimon. He looks super cool. So the Mega Evolutions finally in this game won me over because of the Pokemon that I used. And it's funny, it's the Gen 3 Pokemon for me that were the coolest in the Mega Evolution. So that I think is a big reason why you should play Alpha Sapphire, to experience Mega Evolutions for Gen 3 Pokemon. And now I'm even looking forward to more than ever Pokemon Legends ZA to use Mega Evolutions, and maybe there's going to be some really cool Gen 6 Pokemon in the game that I didn't experience Mega Evolution with, and I will this time around. And yeah, I know everyone says Mega Evolution is like the coolest mechanic Pokemon's added into the games, and I'm starting to agree, you know? Dynamax is cool, but the Pokemon just kind of get bigger and fatter, you know, except Gengar looks really badass, and Snorlax, right? Their Gigantamax forms are really cool, but Mega Evolution really changes their appearance for the most part in a cool way, so I am a fan at this point. Now, when I got to the end of the game, they gave me the National Dex, and I thought it was weird that the National Dex introduced Pokemon up through Gen 6 into this Gen 3 game. Like, I thought the National Dex would just go up to Gen 3, 1, 2, and 3, but I'm pretty sure it added in all Pokemon from like Gen 5, 6, you name it. And I thought that was kind of weird and game breaking, but either way, it's just post game, you know, it's just for the collecting aspect of it. It didn't really bother me that much, but I thought that was just a weird addition. Like, let's add all the National Dex in, even beyond this generation, which shouldn't even exist yet, really. But all in all, where does Alpha Sapphire stand up as a remake? I felt like it was a pretty easy game to get through, just like Pokemon X. I found it easy to get through the Elite Four, where in other generations it's hard. Like Brilliant Diamond, the Gen 4 remake, is actually much harder. Like when you get to Cynthia at the end, you better be prepared, because she can kick your ass with her Garchomp and Lucario. She's got like a Spiritomb and a Roserade. Like Cynthia is really hard at the end of the game, but I didn't feel challenged as much in Alpha Sapphire, which is fine. But you know, as far as the remakes go, I think Heart Gold, Soul Silver is everyone's like favorite, you know, and Fire Red, Leaf Green are good as well, really good. So, you know, I think this comes in just where its generation came in, probably like the third best remake. People didn't really like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and I enjoyed them, you know. The music in Gen 4 is slapping. But all in all, I think Alpha Sapphire is a great remake, you know, definitely worth playing in 2025. And definitely if you want to get into Mega Evolutions and get yourself ready for Pokemon Legends ZA, which I did myself and I really enjoyed it. So let me know what you guys think. Have you played Alpha Sapphire, or have you just played the original? What do you think about Mega Evolutions? Let me know in the comments. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.